Morning, sir. Morning, ma'am.
It's no, it please. Thanks.
Mohit,
Yes,
why do you need a mock? You already qualified.
sir, to practice and to see what areas of depth can be touched this time around also, sir.
Okay. You think it is really necessary?
Sir,
After having qualified one such pressure,
sir, it just helps me brush up. For the last 1 year, I was sitting back at my room again after my foundation course, and there was no social interaction. So I think it's necessary to get out of the shell. And also, after today, I'm leaving for Hyderabad today, so I'll not get an opportunity to do any more of these.
but Hyderabad also must be having these facilities.
Sir, initially, it's a bit heavy orientation week, sir.
You have not been to Hyderabad Academy so far.
So last year I went for 5 days for taking an extraordinary leave.
Okay.
So then
I find a very peculiar thing. Your email is Mohit Brashdham. What is Brashdham?
sir, actually,
Belong to Ajmer. It has nothing to do with Mathura or something.
sir, my grandfather and earlier ancestors were actually from this region only, Hathras, Mathura, and
Okay.
Vrindavan. So
Okay.
my father, when he created it in 5th class, he added Brasdam, sir.
Okay. You get Rajasthan cadre, for example. How would you manage the traffic in Ajmer? I've been there a couple of times, especially around the Dargah.
Yes.
Seems very, very messy.
Sir, a lot of steps has been taken recently. For example, 3 flyovers which were pending, they have been completed. So they have decongested the Dargah area that we are talking about. But sir, the problem with Ajmer is that in the areas which are newly developed, there is sufficient width of the roads. But for older areas which require retrofitting, particularly the Dargah and the Chudi Bazar area, they are not retrofitted. So I think first that can be tapped into, sir. And secondly, the public transportation fleet per se has not modernized. Still, we use a lot of tempos, and that cannot accommodate a large number of people. Maybe we can also explore public buses to run on Ajmer Road. That will also decongest. These are the 2 steps.
Having now uh, been trained at Hyderabad Academy for a while, what do you think ails the police service in India? I'm not only talking of IPS, the entire police system.
So there are multiple factors. The first is the issue of short personnel, because we have still around 140 per lakh of population.
That is beyond you.
Yes, sir.
That is beyond you.
So second is the
You know, 140 or is it 192 or something?
so for most of the states it's 140. For example, Rajasthan, UP, they hover around 140 only. So second is the issue with funds, that is also there. That is a correlated issue. Third is, sir, the workload management. It becomes an issue because 93% of our workforce is constabulary, and they handle most of the calls, beat patrolling, and everything. So it becomes a frustrating job for them, and therein comes the problem of perception management of police, because naturally they will suffer from some mental stress and rude behavior. That is an issue, sir. An emerging issue is that our infrastructure is right now moderately equipped to deal with cyber crimes, sir. We are still struggling with that issue. So that is there, sir. Apart from that, sir, and one last issue is the disconnect between the superintendent, those who supervise the police force, and those who work on the police force. What happens is an IPS, for example, comes in every 2 or 3 years and he changes, but it's the constables and DSPs who have to deal with the local population. So a lot of my seniors have such.
So if you get it to, say, Home Ministry on deputation as joint secretary or something, what would you recommend to the government to change this system? The last factor that you pointed out is about leadership.
Yes, sir. Sir, first of all, I think we need to stabilize the tenure. That is also in the Prakashing guidelines, that we need to have a stable tenure. Secondly, sir, we need to have a better promotion curve. We are right now following an Irish constabulary model, which was a British legacy, sir. But let's say we shift towards a mix of metropolitan Bobby model also, where there is a single point of entry, and then you get promoted through the chain. Then the superintendents will also increase, and I think the chain of command will also be better because the respect will be there, sir.
So you are recommending that end IPS and let a constable grow and sort of after certain qualifications, let him become sub inspector and then become.
He doesn't want to be IPS.
Tell me.
A mix of that would be
This could be applicable for IAS also.
sir. A mix of that would be good, sir. Because, for example, in certain critical regions, for example, in Eastern UP, we see a lot of land conflicts. And what I have heard of my seniors is 2 years or 3 years is too short of a tenure to understand the complexities of it. Maybe we can have 20% post through promotion and then 80% through all India services to maintain the coordination. A mix could be there, sir.
There's another famous Gupta nowadays. Who is he? Any idea? Why is he constantly in news?
So sorry.
Heard of Ganesh Gupta?
Yes, sir. He is the chief.
What is the controversy?
So the
Surrounding not him,
yes, sir.
the election commission.
Sir, the recent controversies regarding special intensive revision, which has been going on, and with unfortunate cases of BLO's death, the issue of high workload is.
So, in your opinion, is SIR a fruitful exercise or it's a can be done at a guess? Is it an inclusive exercise or it is an exercise for on exclusion?
So I believe it's an administrative exercise because RP and ND clearly mandates that it's the responsibility of EC to maintain the electoral goals in the most updated manner. But with the recent issue is that, sir, it has been politicized beyond the administrative domain, and certain political factions are claiming that it's an exercise of inclusion or exclusion. But I see an administrative problem over here that the time frame which has been provided to BLO, since our old voter records were not digitized, that is something that could have been.
The SIR was held earlier in 2003
Yes, sir.
and all that data is digitized. It is available on internet.
Sir, from what I have read, the BLOs have to cross-reference them, and it is they are referring to the manual rolls only, the earlier records from what I've read. But I'll read about it, sir, if it has been digital.
What about you have not opted for IFS at all?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Sir, in 2023 also, my first attempt, IPS was my second preference, sir. And the primary motivation is that I want to serve within the territory of the country. Although I have great respect for the diplomats, sir, but I think I'm more so.
What is this controversy about Sanchar something?
Sir, there was a recent government order by Department of Telecommunication. They said that every mobile phone which is sold.
I'm aware of the
Yes.
background.
Yes.
In your view, what is the controversy?
Sir, it has been framed on the lines of Pegasus issue. For if there is a pre-installed state-backed app and it is demanding actually root level access to all the systems, there can be issues of privacy violations as well as surveillance by the state. That has raised certain questions. But the government, in order to address this, has initially said that it will be optional, and now it has rolled back the entire directive. I think
Initially, it said it will be mandatory.
initially it was mandatory, then said it will be.
If you're sharing data with Google, with all other apps, Zomato even.
Yes, sir. So the idea of consent is there, sir. Even if the pretense of consent is still maintained because we press I agree. And if something comes pre-installed and the directive was there that it cannot be disabled or removed. So we are mandating that a constant state software should be on this. If there are tremendous advantages to having Sanchar Sathi, but the user should decide whether he wants to install or not. So we can go for awareness, sir.
Mohit, I see that you've written that one of the things that you'd like to do is watch social media content on social issues, media content on social issues. We've seen around the neighborhood a lot of protests take place. A lot of it has been, blamed on the impact of social media and how that's encouraged protests. What do you think? Does social media have a positive, negative impact?
Ma'am, it's a disruptive technology and it has both positive and negative impacts. The positive impacts would be that the marginalized section, they got a voice. For example, the hashtag #MeToo movement against patriarchy was entirely an online movement. Even the environmental movements here seen is an online movement only in the lobby group. But then again, the negative advantages is who is setting the agenda. Sometimes there are corporate fueling the agenda. There were reports of Saudi fueling pro-oil types of policies. Then second is, can we actually contain the dissent and what kind of dissent is being promoted? If there is any kind of video which is promoting sedition, and you say that comes under the ambit of free speech on social media, then it comes into the conflict with law. So it's a technology, it's a transformative technology. It depends on how we use it as a society.
But you've been in the police services, you know how sensitive these issues can be. Let me take an example of what we saw happen in Nepal,
Yes.
with the student protests. How would you have handled it differently?
I think the underlying tones for actually political discontent was there, economic discontent was there. So that requires a long-term policy approach. But but the boiling point was that social media ban was imposed, bracket ban was imposed, and there was no social consensus around it. As a police officer, what could I have done differently is firstly to not fire at the people that was done and student deaths that were caused, because that was the boiling point from where the violence took off. Second, ma'am, we could have maybe used the same social media better to disseminate the correct information. There was a lot of disinformation, misinformation, and hoaxes that were being spread. And thirdly, ma'am, rather than acting as a force per se, for major parts of Nepal were when they were not under the uh, when they were not having violent acts, so to say, we could have used more of community policing and use the leaders to actually calm down people and sensitize that, okay, if there is a policy discrepancy, maybe we need dialogue and not weapons. That could have been.
You also mentioned when Sir asked you a question, you also mentioned that you want to work within the territory of the country.
Yes.
You also used a very interesting word. You said, not answers, you said British legacy.
Yes.
So when we talk about India and we see the diversity, specifically more far-flung areas like the Northeast, why do you think that they've been so psychologically distant from the rest of the country?
Ma'am, sorry, can you please repeat it?
Why do you think that areas like the Northeast have been so psychologically distant
Yes.
from the rest of the country? And if you were to become, you opted for the IAS, what would you change to bridge that gap?
Ma'am, the reasons are manifold. The underlying root cause is obviously the colonial legacy and the British neglect of these regions. And second is also the geographical distance of these regions from so to say mainland that we say of India. The third is that the ethnic groups that are actually there, they have not been integrated into the political mainstreams, and therefore we see issues like Naga insurgency is there and Assam insurgency was there. So they have not been. And then the more grounded issue is the developmental disparity is there. The youths are not getting jobs and they don't have access to the best of economic opportunities. Ma'am, what can be done and what is being done is firstly, we need to increase the connectivity. We see that a lot of rural urban distress was also there in 70s. Disparity was there in 70s of India, but with increasing connectivity, youths actually traveled to and fro and they got access. That is the first thing, ma'am. Second is the policy narrative that our government is shaping is Northeast first, not Northeast last. That is also helping, ma'am. Thirdly, with schemes like PM Divine and industrialization in the Northeast, we are actually creating local jobs. And with constitutional protections like sixth schedule, I think we need to ensure that they are not merely the provisions, but the ARCs which are there are actually empowered. And ma'am, lastly would be a strategic dimensions. If there are militant groups, if the ethnic groups are getting weapons, we should have an advanced intelligence so that the eruptions are not there and they feel like the center is hearing them from a strategic viewpoint also.
So if I understand you correctly, you said that, for ethnic groups, there haven't been enough provisions.
Yes.
But having said that, there are provisions like the autonomous district councils, the hill councils.
Yes.
Do you think that they are enough?
Ma'am, our constitution has offered protections under sixth schedule and even fifth schedule also. But from what I have read, the issues is that governor also has overarching powers over these ARCs and EDCs. And secondly, the representation is also skewed. Even among the tribal, there are tribal elites. They are the ones who are capturing power, and some sociologists have also done a study on it. So they have supported it. Ma'am, I think the provisions are enough, but the need is to implement them better and democratize these institutions.
When you say infrastructure, we've increased from, I think, about 7 airports to now 16
Yes.
in the Northeast. We also have a landmark train route in police station Mizoram that you must have heard of. Uh, Even road infrastructure is almost trebled
Yes.
per day. So what other sort of infrastructure do you think that the Northeast would require?
Ma'am, infrastructure around public facilities, For example, schooling, housing that can be developed, and housing should be in consonance with nature-based solution as well as disaster resilience, ma'am. Second infrastructure would be health infrastructure. Since we see, I talked to my senior, and he's posted in Meghalaya, and he said that there are still villages which takes around 10 hours to get to a hospital center. So that can be looked into. The third infrastructure would be, ma'am, ramping up digital infrastructure. Northeast, though we have achieved almost 100% electrification and almost universal access of 5G, but the stability and quality of connection is not there. So they are not able to maybe leverage the digital opportunities which are there. That can be looked into. And these are the three I can think of.
Let me ask you one final question. You look at the borders, the northeastern borders, and you know that they are borders.
Yes.
And this comes from, not just a security point of view, but a strategic and administrative point of view. Do you think to curb insurgency, which you mentioned earlier on, would it be wise to shut down the borders?
I think the best manifestation of this is the free movement regime and the relooking that we are having on it. Ma'am, definitely national security comes first as far as our borders are concerned. And over there, we have a no tolerance approach. But then we need to also look at how we are defining the borders, because these borders are dividing the communities based on the lines British drew. And we are seeing that anyway, the terrain is so tough that we cannot manually patrol it all the times. Ma'am, an innovation that government is doing, and maybe we can promote it more, is the idea of pillion principle of that every citizen is actually policeman in civilian clothes or a armed person in civilian clothes. So we can ensure that if the village communities have the confidence in administration, they should provide us intel about who is smuggling the drugs, who is smuggling the arms. But that will only come when they receive the benefits now. So I think the borders should be fenced, secured, but at the same time, they should not divide the communities, so to say.
Thank you very much.
You referred to a particular term. What was that? Pillions.
Pillion principles.
Pillion principle. What is that principle?
Sir, in 1829, when the policing system was set up in London, it was done by the Home Secretary Robert Peel. And Peelian principles are the basis ground of metropolitan Bobby system. They are centered around community policing, citizen-centric policing, and the ideas.
What is the barrier to this adopting this system in India? What are the barriers?
Sir, there are multiple barriers. First of all, we have a lot of internal security challenges that still needs to be countered by command and hierarchy. For example, in the case of Naxalism.
Forget Northeast. Let's come to UP
Yes.
or MP or Rajasthan, you say.
Yes. So, the command and hierarchy would be needed. In the case of Naxalism, we saw that there was a definite chain of command and orders had to be followed. We required that, sir. Secondly, in London, the population is low and it's easy to monitor them. UP, Rajasthan, and MP, these are high population areas. The idea of beat police.
Rajasthan.
Sir,
Yes, T-White.
yes, sir. But the idea of beat policing that is inherent in PLM principle, it's very difficult to implement with low workforce. So that is an issue, sir. And thirdly, in our country, law and order is a state subject, but we need an overarching federal control over it. So we have all India services. So that also becomes an issue, that how to be introduce a single entry point.
Yeah, you know about India's policy, no talks with terror.
Yes, ma'am.
So, well, India is talking to Taliban and we are upgrading the relationship. So, are we not reflecting our hypocrisy?
Uh, Ma'am, our external affairs minister has been clear that we are engaging with them, not endorsing them. That is our principal policy. It is,
It's a word play.
ma'am, but it is important. In my understanding, it is important to not leave a vacuum. Firstly, we have given a lot of developmental assistance to
Well,
Afghanistan.
why don't we talk with Pakistan also?
Ma'am, Pakistan poses a lot of terrorist threats to India and direct threats to our sovereignty, ma'am. We tried to engage with them in 2000.
There's no link between Afghanistan, Pakistan, transnational terrorism. And I think India is shifting from its policy a lot and losing the war of ground as we ourselves started differentiating between good terrorists and bad terrorists.
Ma'am, even with the Taliban regime, there has been a constant commitment from the other side that no terrorists will be harbored so that they attack India's sovereignty. And secondly, ma'am, it was pragmatic to engage with Taliban also, because if we leave a security vacuum, if we leave a geopolitical vacuum over there, then the other
Why it is not pragmatic to talk with Pakistan? Where is the real problem emerging?
Ma'am, who do we talk to? That is also a problem, because Pakistan is a deep state. The political executives don't have power, and the ones who control the power, they're very.
At least we should offer to talk.
Ma'am, we
Let our sovereign state decide who will be the representative.
And we have in multiple times during Vajpayee era also, and during earlier times also, we again and again extended a hand of friendship. But if they keep attacking us, then always the national security and sovereignty will come first.
But what is the way forward? Like, other than talk, I think, what was your optional?
Sociology.
Sociology as an option.
We can't change neighbors.
Yes.
So what is the option as she's asking?
So the first would be having a good border infrastructure as well as strategic posturing, so that our security is not threatened. That is number one, sir. Second is we can maybe start with business ties, because a lot of the communities which are on the border are demanding the border trade to open and have border ties. Third would,
And we need to talk.
yes,
So with Pakistan, we have closed all these options.
yes, ma'am.
And we have policies, no talk with terror. How do you look at the response to the Pahalgam terror attack?
Yes.
In form of Operation Sindoor, and then the counter-terrorism policy, which Prime Minister has said? Because we are almost closing the options.
Yes, ma'am.
So do you think that we could have had more measured and calibrated, better response? Because the inherent danger of escalation.
Ma'am, even after Pahalgam attack, which was done, until and unless the investigation revealed clear Pakistani links, there were no attacks from our side. And even when we did attack, we clearly distinguished between the civilian areas and military areas, and the strikes.
What we get out of it, tell me, like, what is the outcome of the way we dealt with the terror attack? What are our achievements, 2-3 achievements still?
Ma'am, first is that we filled this policy gap of national security doctrine. India doesn't have a national security doctrine outline, but then with the principles of Operation Sindoor, we made it quite clear that we will.
That we could have done otherwise also, we have assumed.
Yes.
And what will be our, for declaring India's clear-cut policy on terrorism, there was no need to wait for terror attack.
No, ma'am, but latent outcome of that has been this our clear stance on a national security policy also. And ma'am,
So
second,
what next? Do you think Pakistan will not do the same thing again? So what next are we going to do?
ma'am, next we are ramping up our defense infrastructure. We saw a lot of kinetic measures that were being deployed. For example, as 400s that were being used, and anti-missile systems that were being used, and then targeted and precise hitting in the Pakistan. So we were able to not only test our, but also show our capabilities to the world, that we have a strong defense ecosystem at the borders.
So display of power will deter Pakistan.
Ma'am, we are actually using a comprehensive strategy. The first is the defense strategy that we use. Then on global forums, we also had, for example, we sent bilateral delegations to multiple countries to explain our stance. And on
Why we needed to explain our stand? We believe in strategic autonomy. Why was it essential?
ma'am, India has always exercised restrained power, but
Why do we need to explain to the world?
ma'am, because then a lot of fake narratives can be created. For example, the downing of Sukhoi jets with no evidence, and the allegations that civilian areas were targeted. We need to explain to the nations that what measures India took, and when they.
I believe we are talking to everyone other than the from where the problem is emerging. Anyway, have you heard about repressive state apparatuses?
Ma'am, I have not heard. I'll read about it, ma'am.
Okay, so have you heard about Althusser?
Althusser, yes, ma'am. He talks about how the state controls the through its propaganda and through its institution, how it controls the public narrative, and surveillances are. I have somewhat read about.
Have you heard about the term interpellation?
No,
You have not heard about. Okay, in what way Max Weber criticizes Karl Marx?
Ma'am, firstly, he criticizes the monocausal economic determinism of Karl Marx, and he says that our social reality is very complex. It cannot be reduced to economic factors. Secondly, he locates the source of capitalism not in the emergence of private property, but in the process of rationalization. And he says that the depersonalization that we are seeing is not merely in economic sphere, it permeates all the spheres, ma'am. Apart from that, he also criticizes it on the way they envision, they model the society. It's just not haves versus have-nots or elite versus proletariat. There is a thought of middle class. He said that it will increase with time. And lastly, he criticized the pauperization and homogenization thesis of Karl Marx. He says that as and when the capitalism advances, there will be more diversification of jobs. So that he,
Have you heard about phenomenology?
yes, ma'am. It was a branch propounded by Alfred Schutz. It criticizes the macro sociology that the macro sociologists reduce individuals to mere passive actors. They say that we need to study the phenomena and the process of meaning making behind it.
Just
Okay, thank you so much, sir.